Hello, good afternoon, everyone. How you doing? Sekou Tucson here with Attract Technologies, and it's another Invention Tip Tuesday. So last week, we said that this week is going to be about manufacturing, right? Super excited about it. Because there's so much information, it's going to be a two-part episode. So next week, expect another part of this. Yeah, so manufacturing your product. Today's episode is going to be about first contact with manufacturers. What do you need to begin the conversation, to get a quote, and then move forward with that manufacturer, right? Finding the right manufacturer for your product. Okay, so there are a couple things you need before you even reach out to a manufacturer, because they're going to need these things to give you an accurate quote. If you don't have an accurate quote, what's the point, right? So you can't plan accordingly and figure out finances if you don't have an accurate quote. So you need that. First, you need to get an STL or an STEP file done. What this is, it's a 3D model that the manufacturer uses to give you a quote. And in this file, they can see the length, the height, the width, the depth of your product. They can flip it around, they can figure some things out. Now, where do you get this STEP or STL file from? So back in week 2, we spoke about creating your initial drawings and your renderings, right? You then give those drawings to an engineer. Now, pause 1 second. I recommend Fiverr. That's who I use. I found amazing engineers on there and they hooked it all up for me, created the 3D models, and I had my stuff. So I recommend Fiverr, but all you need is an engineer that knows CAD, C-A-D. This is what manufacturers use to create those 3D models for manufacturing and creating what's called molds, which is called tooling. What they'll do is create those files for you so you can then send it to the manufacturer and they can use that to create a quote for you. What's a mold? Okay, the way I like to describe it is, imagine you're on the beach and you want to make a sandcastle, and you have like the cutout sandcastle plastic thing that you fill with the wet sand, and then you put it down, it comes out like a sandcastle. So essentially it's a metal device or tool that's in the center of it, is in the shape of your product. What they do is they force hot plastic into these molds, and when they release this, it's your product. It just pops out. And there are many different types of manufacturing processes, but injection molding is the one that I was looking into for my product, the trash caddy. Those files that you get from the engineer using your initial drawings gives the manufacturer the information they need to create a quote for you. Now, in this quote, it would have two things. It would have the cost of the item per unit as you want to create it, like per unit as far as how much it's going to cost to make it. And it's also going to have the initial tooling cost, which is the cost for them to make that mold for you. It's going to be an initial cost. Once you pay that, you own the mold. It's your mold. Each mold has a lifespan. You need to talk to the manufacturer, say, okay, how many products can I get out of this mold? Now, most manufacturers, even overseas, once you start with them, they don't charge you for mold replacement. So as long as you're dealing with them, they'll make you more molds, as many as you need to make your products for the foreseen future. Okay, cool. There are a couple things that will affect the cost. So before you even contact the manufacturer, what you want to do, of course, have your two files, right? Then you have to figure out what kind of material your product is going to be made out of, because the type of material that you want your product to be made out of is going to affect the cost, right? Even the color of the product affects the cost. Is your product a solid piece of plastic? Is it does it have moving parts? Does it have electronic part? You know, like all that can affect how complex is your product. It does affect the overall cost. So those are the things you need to understand before you even contact the manufacturer. You need those two files. You need to know what kind of material you want to make the product out of. If you need to research, Google types of materials used in manufacturing. They'll give a description, and most manufacturers give you a list of the materials they offer, along with pros and cons of each material. And last but not least, the color that you want to use for your product. All these things can affect the cost of the manufacturer. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. I would love to hear from you. But until next Tuesday, have an amazing rest of your week. And I'll catch you next time for Invention Tip Tuesday. God bless. See you later.